Welcome, everybody. My name is Janelle Van. I'm down here in Tampa, Florida. I'm one of the training managers here at RPR. Today's class is Level Up with RPR Fundamentals, the platform that helps agents produce. This is a class that we put together specifically for Prime MLS and main listing users. So thank you guys for joining. And in this particular class, we're going to really stay focused on your specific area, which always makes it a lot more fun. Now, I will say this is one of 12 different classes that I and my coworker teach each and every month as part of the RPR webinar series. We cover 12 different classes that are going to include the CMA, social media posting, market trend data, reports. We have a great mobile app class, and we also offer two really fantastic commercial classes as well. So the goal of this class is to really introduce you to some of the latest and greatest features with RPR, show you some of my favorite tips and strategies on how you can use RPR in your daily real estate practice. I will let you know I've been in the real estate profession as a broker down here in Florida for about 35 years. And this is one of those platforms that you can really educate yourself. You can do a whole bunch of research, but you can educate your buyers and your sellers as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about the research that you have access to in RPR. We're also going to talk about the different business development growth that you have. You've got prospecting materials in RPR. You have mailing labels. You get 2,000 mailing labels a month. So if you're looking to grow your business through a direct mail campaign, we can help you get started with that as well. So like I said, this is going to be kind of a high level overview of the platform. There's many layers, and that's why we do offer 12 different classes each and every month. And you don't have to attend live either. If you want to watch a previous recording of a webinar, I'm going to show you where you can access all of our classes. So for today's class, this is what we're going to look at. We're going to start off with our agenda, and we're going to take a look at a subject property, maybe even two, and we're going to analyze the data from a subject property. Now that could include school data, neighborhood information, market data, everything you could possibly need to know when you're showing a house. You want to make sure your client is up to speed. All of that research is available for you on RPR. And what's also equally as impressive is you can access all of that research data from the mobile app as well. So let's say, for instance, I'm going to pick on Amy St. Germain's in class. Maybe she's getting ready to show houses this week and she's got a buyer really excited about a property. You don't want to have to wait to say, let me get back to the desktop and answer those questions. You want to be able to address all of your buyers' questions while you're still showing them houses and they're still excited about some of the properties that they're seeing. We're also going to talk about some market trend data. And when we talk about market trend data, this is something that you can access nationwide. So let me know in the chat or the Q&A. Jack, did you go ahead and disable that chat?
I did disable the chat, but the Q&A is open.
Perfect. So let me know in the Q&A if you have sellers that frequently relocate from a part of your area to another part of the country. Because in this class, I'm going to show you how to run a market trend analysis, and this is something that you can do nationwide. So let's say, for instance, let's see if anybody responded. If, for instance, you have a seller and they're relocating out of the Maine or New Hampshire market, maybe they're relocating to, I don't know, Georgia, where Jack is, or I'm down here in Florida. You could potentially research that market trend data for your clients and let them know where they're headed, what they should expect in terms of whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, or what the median price per square foot is. All of that great information you can share with your seller, and that information gives you the opportunity for a potential referral. So I like to talk about market confidence, not only in your area, but also as an opportunity for you to grow your referral network. Ah, look at that. Melissa said lots of people going to North Carolina. Who wouldn't love to go to North Carolina? It's beautiful there. So if you have a listing and the property seems to be selling pretty quickly up there, that seller is going to be looking to you for some guidance, and you can certainly educate them on the North Carolina market, pretty much anywhere in the country. We're also going to talk about the client-ready reports that you can create, customize, share. You can post to social media, you can email them, you can text them. So you've got 9 residential reports and 3 commercial reports that you can generate, and they cover everything from property specific data to neighborhood information, as well as market data. So we're going to look at those reports, how you can access them and generate them. And ultimately, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the mobile app because we're all on our mobile. If we're not on our mobile, we're showing houses, we're missing out because the mobile app gives you the ability, like I said, to research everything a buyer could possibly want to know before they make an offer, or if you've got a listing and you want to share some market data for a potential buyer, you can access all of that from your mobile app. Okay, so before we go any further, I just like to always remind everybody what RPR is, and I'm going to go ahead off camera right now. This is always a good time to remind folks that we are recording today's webinar. We will send it out to everyone that registered, and also the chat has been disabled, but Jack is standing by. Just find that Q&A panel. Okay, so what is RPR? We are Realtors Property Resource, and we are a national database for both residential and commercial properties. So when I talk about research, you have access to school data, flood data, traffic information. You could create a commute buyer search. So let's say, for instance, you have a buyer and they want to be within maybe 10 minutes of their school or their place of employment, something like that. You can go ahead and create those custom buyer searches. You can go ahead and access neighborhood information. That information is being brought to us from the US Census data. So if you have a client that's relocating and they've got a bunch of young kids and they want to know what the schools are like, how many kids are living in a neighborhood, you can actually answer all of those questions from RPR. Now, RPR was built exclusively for realtors. There's no consumer access, and it's offered at no additional charge. So it is part of your NAR membership. So there's no upcharging here. There's nothing grayed out. No data is blocked, and there's absolutely at no time anything going to pop up and ask us to upgrade our subscription or anything really to distract us from getting our work done. So that being said, let's talk about some of the data that you can access. I've already mentioned a few things. You've got school and neighborhood data. For our commercial clients, whether they're looking to buy or sell, we have commercial tenant data, consumer spending and market demographics. You also have a one-stop platform for active listings, pending, sold, but you also have your public record database as well. So if you have a buyer and they have a question about the house next door, or maybe they have a question about the entire neighborhood, you can pull those property informations directly from your mobile app and share them with your clients. So it's really a place for you to research on market, off market property data. We do not have direct data input from realtors on RPR. All of the data that we gather here is coming to us from a variety of data partnerships. Primarily, we've got our partnerships with most of the MLSs nationwide. We get our commercial information from commercial information exchanges. Our market trend data is going to be basic market trend stats that are published once a month, so you can really keep an eye out for what's happening in your local market. And then we have some great mapping data. So we're talking about flood zones, points of interest. When I say it's a one-stop platform for research and marketing, I truly mean that. So again, if you've got a buyer relocating and maybe they want to be really close to daycare centers or shops or restaurants, we can apply points of interest to our map and show our clients on RPR where all of those points of interest are going to lie. So that being said, RPR is not in competition with your MLS as we are in partnership with all of your resources, your broker, your community of real estate professionals, those inspectors and appraisers and title agents. We believe that the more information that you can gather, the better you're going to be in representing your clients, but also in growing your business. So we don't ever want you to think, oh, should I search for properties in the MLS or RPR? The answer is use all of your resources. You may find you're very happy searching for property in the MLS, but then maybe you find some advanced research opportunities in RPR. So that we always answer that question because it comes up a lot, especially in our intro class. So take a look at this slide. I do have a few slides to go through with you before I open up the live platform. And I did want to just point out that there is a QR code on the bottom right of our screen, and that kind of went on its merry way there. This is going to give you access to 50 different ways that you could use RPR for your business. One of the things that I really like to talk about here is that RVM, that Realtors Valuation Model. You have the ability to create a very comprehensive and professional CMA. And again, you have access to public records, sold data, those buy owners, those new construction sales, but it's also going to include MLS data too. So for that reason, when we start talking about pricing a subject property, whether it's an actively listed property we're getting ready to make an offer on, or you're getting ready to go on a listing appointment, you're going to be really confident in your ability to create a very solid pricing strategy because we're pulling in those off-market public record properties as well as your MLS data. And then, of course, you've got your school zones and school data, and then some commercial information as well. Now, remember, I am recording this, and when I send the recording out, you guys are going to get a copy of all of these slides. So you can just kind of slow it down, really kind of pick and choose what is most important to you. This is a quick screen grab of some of the residential data partnerships that we have currently, our US Census data. School data is coming to us from a partnership we have with Niche. And when I say school data, if your broker has a hard rule against sharing school data, then please do not do that. Just follow the rules of your brokerage. But if they don't have a strong preference, the school data that you're going to find here in RPR is far greater than just a letter grade. In some cases, for high school, you're going to see average SAT scores, ACT scores, community reviews. So again, if you've got a buyer and you're really just trying to add value to the purchase, you want to be able to provide them with as much info as you can. The school data, the neighborhood information, and that market data is all going to help guide them before they make an offer. And I mentioned Precisely, this is a partnership we have that provides us with all of those points of interest. And then, of course, we've got our FEMA flood maps. So it's really quite powerful, a one-stop platform. If you have a buyer and you want to perform a climate risk analysis on a specific subject property, you can do that in RPR. If you have a seller and they are not willing to make repairs, you can go ahead and do some renovation estimates using our partnership with Snaptimate. And we know sellers, they're done. They're getting ready to put the house on the market and they want to do as little as possible. But that doesn't necessarily mean that a buyer is not going to expect some of those repairs to be completed. So just keep in mind, there's just a lot of different resources for you here. Now, one of the things we're going to talk about today that makes RPR unique and a great starting point, whether you're working with a buyer or a seller, is our RVM, and that is your Realtor's Valuation Model. And you can see on your screen that this property out there in Arizona has an RVM set at $899,880. What makes our valuation model unique from some of those third-party values that you see, those Z estimates and what have you? Ours, again, is including MLS active, pending, sold data, public record sold data, and most importantly, our RVM gives realtors the ability to refine it. So let's say, for instance, Mark, who's been in real estate about 20 years, has said, I don't agree with this valuation model. I simply just don't agree with it and I want to change it. Well, you can go into RPR. You can see there's a refined value tool. That refined value tool is available for every subject property. So think about that. If you don't agree with a valuation, you can either adjust it up or you could adjust it down. You could decide if that's something that you want to share with your clients or if you just want to refine the value for your own research. So I always like to start with our RVM when we're looking at pricing. Now, I'm going to give you guys a few seconds. I'm going to pause, grab your phones. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and download the mobile app. And while you're doing that, I am going to give you my top three favorite resources that you have access to from mobile. One, if you are getting ready to show houses, you can create a buyer's tour for your client. So, what does that look like? Well, maybe you've got 10 properties that you're planning on showing them. You pull the properties, you create a beautiful buyer's tour. Not only can you text, email, airdrop that buyer's tour, all of the properties that you're getting ready to show them in the order that you're going to show them, the buyer's tour is also going to include a feedback form. So that's a great way for you to kind of communicate back and forth with your client. Is this something that they would rank very high on their list, or is it something that they really aren't a big fan of? So it just kind of opens up the lines of communication and shows you what they're actually thinking about the properties that you have set to show. Now, the other super cool thing you can do on the mobile app is create CMAs. You could create a buyer CMA, you could create a CMA for a seller, you could create a manual CMA, or you could use AI to create a CMA for you. Now, a lot of people, they immediately hear AI and think, I don't know, I don't know if I want to bring that into my conversation with my clients. It's totally up to you. But the reason I like the AI CMA is because if you are building a CMA in an area that maybe you're not super familiar with, it's going to pull the comps for you. It's going to rank the comps or score the comps. And then you can always add your own comps, or you can get rid of some of the AI comps. So it's pretty powerful. If you're curious about learning more, I think it can be very helpful, especially if you try to take a vacation. And every realtor knows the second you pack a suitcase, someone's going to call and say, I'm ready to list my house. Rather than missing that opportunity, create a CMA on the fly using the mobile app, and then again, email, text, airdrop. And remember, the AI CMA is good for both buyers and sellers. Okay, so Shannon has a question. The mobile app isn't letting me put that in. So Shannon, it is a kind of a unique process. You actually have to be on a subject property to access the little AI button. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a second. Now, also, from the mobile, you can see over to the right all of these AI scriptwriter tools. You've got articles, social media cards. We say social media, but you can post these to your websites, your blogs. You've got your PowerPoint presentation. You could create a very quick social video. And again, social media is not the end all. You could easily create a video here and share that to your website or your blog. Now, anytime we're looking for these different AI scriptwriter tools, we need to be on our market trends. And everything that you see to the right of this mobile app screenshot is also available on the desktop. So we're going to look at that, and I'm going to show you what some of these options look like. And remember, you've got access to the mobile app. It doesn't cost you anything to go ahead and share some of this information to your website or to your social media platforms. But always be on the lookout for your little AI icon. This one is specifically aligned for your market trends, but for the AI CMA, you're going to need to be on a subject property. And finally, here is the seller AI CMA that we're all kind of proud of here. You've got the ability to just one click, tap on the subject property, choose, do you want a buyer CMA or do you want a seller CMA? It's not only going to pull in comps, it's going to score those comps based on proximity, square footage, bedroom, bath. And then, like I said, if you don't like some of the comps that we pull, you can go ahead and add your own and delete the ones that you don't want. Now, I'm going to say this. We do have a class, an entire 1 hour class dedicated to the mobile AI CMA. So if you are trying to do one now, you're going to get frustrated. I'm going to show you where you can access the on-demand video for our AI CMA here in just a few minutes. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and pull in our homepage. I just want to remind everybody really quickly that we have disabled the chat, and this recording will be available to everybody that registered for our class. Okay, Jack, let me know, are there any questions out there that I can answer before we get into the live site?
I think that we are ready to rock and roll.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so what we're looking at is the RPR homepage. Want to quickly remind everybody that there are 12 different classes. We're going to do a high level overview of the homepage and some searching opportunities. But before we go there, I want to show you that on the top left of your screen, you can go ahead and upload or have your broker upload the RPR, I'm sorry, your broker's logo. So when you log into RPR and you don't see your broker's branding, you want to go ahead right now and reach out to Jack in the Q&A. He will give you a link. Only the broker can make sure that broker branding is set up. So you want to go ahead and do that. Now, it doesn't really matter when you're searching for properties in RPR, but when you start presenting client-facing material, you want the broker's logo to be front and center. And then on the top right, you've got your personal profile. So let's go ahead and click on that little drop down arrow, top right of our screen. Head on down to our profile page. Make sure your photo, your personal logo, whatever that looks like, contact information, all of this information is going to appear on the cover letter of all of the reports that you generate. So if you've got a couple of different designations, you can add them here under your title, or you have your own branding or your own logo that you want to include. Go ahead and put that under your title or your logo image. Now, this is kind of important. We want to make sure all your phone numbers, your email addresses, if you have multiple websites, you can add all of those to the to the cover letter of all of your reports. And then you have MLS or CIE information accessible in RPR. So if you are curious what MLSs are exchanging data with you, you just simply go down to your listing data access and you can see by state. So you guys are up there in New Hampshire and Maine. Let's find Maine. Where are we here? There we go. So we select Maine and you can see the on-market properties that Maine Listings is sharing with you, historical data, and even the 26 counties that are being covered by your Maine listing access. So you can see wherever you are logging in from, you can go ahead and click on your listing data access and see state by state what data is being shared with you. And then finally, I just want to make sure everybody remembers to include their license number. I feel like this is something that a lot of realtors forget to do, but this is going to appear on the cover letter of all of your reports. So go ahead and add that little extra touch of professionalism. You worked hard for that license number, so go ahead and make sure you include that and then just click on Save. So just to recap, we are on our home page of RPR. Top left is our broker logo. I saw a broker in the call asking for that link. So only the broker can submit that to RPR, and it doesn't cost any extra money, and it only takes about 10 minutes of your time. And then for the top right, that's your personal profile info. Okay, so let's go to our research tab. Again, we're looking at the home page. We're going to cover some of these tabs. I'm going to show you how to do some advanced searching. We're going to get your My Markets set up on your home page. But we're going to begin with our research. On the top, you'll notice I could begin with a property search. I'm not going to do that because I would prefer to search for properties using my location bar. But I want to point out under our research tab, you could go directly to your maps, the residential market trends. This is very important. If you don't take anything else away today, remember our market trends can be accessed nationwide. And once we dive into these trends, this is where you're going to see all of those AI scriptwriter tools. So we're going to circle back to that in a second. Your neighborhood search, we can go in and do a neighborhood search, and the information that you're going to see from a neighborhood search is going to include housing data, the people, the economy, the number of kids in an area. So that's going to be something we're also going to circle back to. School search, that's pretty self-explanatory. You've got the ability to search public schools as well as private, elementary, middle, and high school. And when we do a school search, if we've got a buyer and they say, I want my kids to go to this school, or maybe they're already registered, they need to buy a house. When you do a school search, you can also search for properties that are in that school zone. And then we've got residential market activities, and then we've got some commercial site selection tools. And this is something that we kind of say for our commercial classes. They're very, very interesting tools. If you've got the opportunity to represent a commercial investor or a seller, you want to go ahead and check out some of the commercial resources. But we're going to go back to the top. Any questions on the research tab, Jack? Let me know.
Does not look like it, but hoping to see a few different kinds of properties, some in a little bit more dense areas, and maybe one a little bit further out if possible.
All right, we can certainly try to work with that. Let's start with a quick overview of our residential market trends. And I'm going to give a shout out to Mark. I think Mark was the first person on the call today. All I did was clicked on research and I hovered down under residential market trends. And you'll notice I could enter in a county, a city, a zip code, and in some cases, even a neighborhood if the neighborhood is big enough. But from the market trends, Mark gave me 04401. Thank you for that, Mark. So we're going to go to Bangor, Maine. Hope I'm saying that right. When we look at the residential market trends from our research tab, which is exactly what we just did, you are going to be able to see not only whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, but you're going to access the key details as to what dictates whether this market falls in that seller versus buyer's market. Couple of big things to notice though. You can access market trends from a subject property, and I'm going to show you how to do that. We didn't just do that because we just wanted to get a high level overview for the 04401 zip code. So for that reason, over under our property type to the far right, it doesn't know exactly what property type we're trying to analyze. So what we do is we click on that drop down. Everybody with me? And then we just decide, are we looking at single family? Are we looking at condos? The default is going to be to single family condos and townhouses. So keep an eye on these four key details. We've got 2.59 months supply of inventory. Sold to list price is 97.9%. The median days on the market is 25, and your median sold price is 317. Great data. If I'm working with a seller and they think that there's absolutely no inventory on the market, we show them this data and say, well, it does look as though there's a little bit of negotiation and almost 3 months supply of inventory. So all of this is to try to educate our clients when they're getting ready to make an offer or list their house. But watch what happens when I go to the drop down arrow on the top right and I change it. Let's go to single family only. Now I'm not sure in the zip code if anything's going to change, but we're going to find out. I apply it to all charts and it actually did change a little bit. My median sold price went to 329. My median days on market is 23. This means the time it takes from a property to go active to pending. And then you've got your sold to list price percentage at 98.2 and your month supply of inventory at 2.63. So again, all great data, but what are we going to do with this info? Well, if you look on the top right, over to the right, you've got your AI scriptwriter tools. You have a one-click share button. Now, what does that do for me? This takes this entire chart and it allows me to post directly to Facebook, X, LinkedIn, or I can just click more, save it as a JPEG. And once this guy downloads, there's my market trend. If I just want to copy and paste this, take it on over to social media, I'll say what's on my mind, and I'll copy and paste. Now you might be wondering, why did I save it as a JPEG? Because it's quicker. If I click on Facebook direct, it's going to take a little bit longer. So we're in a live demo here, and I wanted to show you how quickly I could create a beautiful market trend chart specific to that 04401 zip code. And you may have noticed that this is May data because we are always working a month in arrears. We will not see the June data until probably the 4th or the 5th of July. Now, while we're on Facebook, let me just show you a couple of other cool things that I've created for you guys. It took me less than 10 seconds. I went to Portland, Maine earlier today. I selected my postcard template. My broker's branding should appear on the top right. And then all of those key details that we just talked about auto populate. So you've got shareable charts and then you've got lots of different beautiful postcard templates to choose from. So one more thing, while we're here, we had the one-click share button. I want to take you to the script writer. You will only see the AI script writer from the market trends. Why is that? Because all of this data, we understand what it means. We're professionals, we get it. But how do we explain what this information means to our buyers and our sellers? We click on the AI scriptwriter tool. You select your tone. Maybe you're conversational, maybe you're friendly. Select your audience. Maybe you're working with a first-time home buyer. Maybe you're working with a seller. I'm going to stick with buyers. Then you have 6 different action items, and every one of these is going to take you through another pick list. So let's click on the article. When I clicked on the article, it's going to give me 7 different options. You've got your BuzzFeed, your Q&A, a myth versus fact. All of this can be very useful for business development or just simply educating your clients. So I'm going to go ahead and generate a quick BuzzFeed article. And this article is going to take 10 seconds to create, and it's going to explain everything about that market, the top 5 real estate trends in Bangor, Maine, as of May 2026 for single family properties only. And you can see the tone is really specifically trying to attract buyers, explore increased inventory, catch the new listings wave, act fast, evaluate sold prices, monitor inventory. So you've got right out of the gate a nice article. If you want to do a monthly newsletter, you've got that. I could email this. I could copy and paste this right on over to social media and I could say what's on my mind one more time. I copy and paste, and now I have this beautiful article that I could post. Now I use Facebook as a demo because it's kind of easy to toggle back and forth, but remember, this is valuable info for your own personal websites or blogs. And you don't have to post all of it. You could have just posted one paragraph at a time. So that's one of the different scriptwriter tools. I'm going to show you one more, and then we're going to go into some property searching. With your AI scriptwriter, remember, the goal is to educate our buyers and sellers on the local market. So for the social media card, this time maybe I'm going to be very encouraging. I'm going to go now and work with buyers and sellers, and I'm going to create a social media card. And watch how cool this is. When I click on Create Social Card, I select my background, I verify all my contact info is correct. Then all I have to do is decide, am I posting this to my story, because it does change up the format a little bit, or am I sharing this to my news feed? You just kind of scroll through, pick the one that you like. This is a pretty little hometown guy. But most importantly, all of those key market trend details have now populated on my card. All I have to do is click on share with a caption, and it's going to download, and then I copy and paste it. Or if you're really on the mobile app, you can do all of this directly from your phone. So not only do I have captions, I can view up to 5 different captions, all with little emojis and hashtags, with my contact information. New listings are on the rise with 67 fresh options at a median of 349. I could copy that caption and send it on over to social media. I can save and share. And now all I have to do is once I picked my social media card, I click on download. There's my social card looking beautiful. I just copy and paste it. Now remember, guys, from the mobile app, it's a really quick. You just pick the card you like and off it goes. Just remember that your broker's branding will appear on the cover letter, or I'm sorry, on the postcard. So that's kind of
Janelle,
fun. Go ahead, Jack.
we did have one question about can you import your own photos?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, not here, but you can. So what we do have for you guys, because the AI scriptwriter, those templates are all pre-formatted and they are designed to go with your market trends. I didn't have to do anything except choose my background. If you want greater control over your background and your photo, you would use what we have Canva templates. You're probably familiar with them. And the way you get to your Canva templates is you click on Learn at the top of our homepage. There it is, Canva templates. Go to your Canva templates. Now, the difference with these, let's allow all our cookies, is greater customizability, but you have to pay for this. So where ours are free, Canva is a partnership. So if you want to access this, let's say for instance you like this template, but you obviously want your own photo, your own picture, your own color scheme, you have greater customization options with Canva, but you have to pay a little extra for that. Ours, they're free. So you could just view the template, and you'll notice though, all of our Canva templates are designed to include your market trend data. All you have to do, spend 30 minutes really getting familiar with how to customize these and add your own market trend data. So greater customization with Canva. If you want to use ours, you just go to the AI scriptwriter tool, select your social media card, and then verify your contact information. And then I was kind of playing around with all of these different postcards here that you have access to. And I think I picked this one because it kind of made me feel a little bit like New England. So every one of those templates is going to have your photo on it and all of the market trends. You just can't change the background. But that
Awesome.
was a good question. Go ahead.
I was saying thank you so much.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, before I leave market trends, I want to scroll down and show you. Not only do you have the high level overview of May's trends for Bangor, Maine, as I scroll down, I've got the median estimated property value, I've got the zip code, the county that I'm not even going to try to pronounce, the whole state, and the country. So this blue line that you're seeing here is representing the kind of the highs and lows of property values. And then as I scroll down, I've got new listings as of May, 67 new properties. The median price per square foot is 201. And then I scroll down further, I see active listing, pending listing data. And then I even see some sold listing data. What you may have noticed is over to the right, every one of these charts has a share button. So you could literally post one a day, one a month, one a week. And if you want, you could just click on Facebook. There it is. And as long as you're logged in, it should go directly to social media. I just prefer kicking it old school and saving it as a JPEG, but you can go ahead and post right here, again, from the desktop or the mobile. So use the market trend data, not only for education and research for yourself and your clients, but we've made it pretty easy for you to share all of this data, whether you want to get real creative with your scriptwriter tools, or you just are comfortable sharing charts. And then just above that, you have create report options. You can create 3 different reports that are aligned to that zip code. So that is a little overview of our research tab and our market trends. Remember, went to market trends under research, typed in our zip code, and you could do this nationwide. You want to look at inventory property data in Orlando or Texas, you can do that. We also have the ability to look at neighborhood data. Let's take a quick look, and we're going to go to Christie's area. She gave me 04217. So for our neighborhood search, we're going to type in 04217. We're going to Bethel. I hope I'm saying that right. We click. Now this is different. This is different than the market trend data. The neighborhood information is more about the people that live in that zip code. We click on the magnifying glass, and again, we've got our market trend data right here. And remember, I did not access this from a subject property, so my default is going to be single family condos and townhouses. If I click on single family, it changed. Still a seller's market, but look at the difference in the market in this zip code versus what we just looked at in Bangor. 4 months of inventory, 93% is the sold to list price percentage. The median days on market is almost 3 months, and the median sold price is 465. So you've got your market trends in your neighborhood data, but you also have housing stats. If I want to learn how many people are renting in that zip code, I can look under housing and see 13% of the people that live in that zip code are renting. That is not a great percentage if I'm looking to do some outreach for buyers. So this is always a great place to start. Find an area with a high percentage of renters, and then we go find those renters and try to convert them to become buyers. That's something we cover in great detail in our prospecting class. So again, the people, it's important if our clients want to know how many kids are in a neighborhood. We can see here, looks like the majority of the kids in that area are elementary school and maybe even high school coming in second. No, 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 that's not true. 188, and then we have toddlers, lots of young kids in that area. So if you've got a buyer relocating and they're looking to find out if there's lots of folks over 65 and up, you can show them that not really. This is more of an area where you're seeing folks in the ages of 35 to 54. You have the economy on your blue bar, and then you also have your quality of life. So if you've got a buyer relocating to Maine, I don't know, from Tampa, Florida, like I'm at, you can show them in this neighborhood report there's a lot of snow. You guys are getting a lot of snow up there. So it's a great way for you to really educate your clients on how what they should expect in terms of the housing market, the people, what these folks do for work, and all of this data is coming to us from the US Census data. So we're going to move on from the research tab. Jack, are there any questions that I can answer before we move to our reports?
There was one question on, is there a way to see what cities are relocating to, say, Maine in general? And then two is why median is used more than average in our real estate data points.
Yeah, so Ann, I see Ann Pope's question. We do not have a way to see the cities that are relocating to Maine in general. We don't have that information, but what we can do is help you grow your campaign for new buyers through prospecting. And again, getting the word out on social media, being that hyper local market expert, really showing new buyers that you know everything that's going on in that market is going to really put you ahead of your competition. Okay, and Fawn, I do not know why I could say I do, but I don't. Why median is used more than average. Jack, do you have any thoughts on that? It's just always kind of been that way.
Yeah, I don't really have a great answer.
Yeah, I think median just kind of runs across the board, and on average, you could have like really high sales, really low sales, and they can kind of throw things off. So I ultimately the decision was made to use median price per square foot, median sold date. So we're going to move on to marketing. You've got some marketing tips here. This residential market trends AI scriptwriter is what I just showed you, but you can get a little bit more information if you want to right here. And then we hop on over to reports. Now, I want to talk to you guys about these 9 residential reports and 3 commercial. So we have about 15 minutes left, and I really want to maximize our time. What I want to tell you with these reports, we have an entire 1-hour class dedicated to creating them, customizing them. But I'm going to give you some use case scenarios. If I'm going on a listing appointment, I am bringing a CMA, that's kind of a no-brainer. I'm going to bring a property flyer. I'm going to bring a neighborhood report and a school report and probably a market activity report. The reason, maybe you think, well, the seller, they don't need to know what the school is. They probably do know everything there is to know about the school. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show them these are some of the resources that I'm going to use to market their property. So not only am I using these reports and the data that's in them, and the data is very comprehensive, and again, you can filter that out. You don't have to include all of the pages, but I want to impress my seller. It's a job interview. I want them to hire me because I want them to know that not only do I know everything about the schools, the neighborhood, and the market, I plan to use this as my marketing strategy to get that property sold. So your property flyer is going to be a 1-page flyer. We just looked at all the neighborhood data. We're going to take a look at some school data here in just a little bit. And remember, at the very bottom, picking the right report, it's going to give you a little overview of some use case scenarios for all of these different reports. And remember, you also have access to these from the mobile app and even a few more on the mobile app. The buyer's tour is not currently available from the desktop, but that is a report that you'll only find on the mobile. So with your reports, these are reports that you've created. These are the RPR templates. When I clicked on the templates, you are going to have the ability to preview each and every one of those reports. So you've got a preview option. So let's say, for instance, we want to go ahead and create a school report. We click on preview and it's showing me key school facts and ratings, side-by-side district comparisons, and then nearby property and neighborhood insights. And every one of these pages can be previewed. And then, of course, when you get to the point of creating reports in RPR, you can customize, you can add your own pages. Maybe you add your resume. Maybe you add that newsletter that I just created using our scriptwriter. So I would just assign you a little homework today after class. Head on over to your reports tab, get on down to your RPR templates, and then just preview, because these don't cost you anything and they are so easy to craft and they're so easy to share. Every single time you get a new listing, you should be creating a one-page property flyer. Let's go ahead and preview that guy. Super easy. You pick the photos, you pick the content that you want to include, and then you go ahead and share it directly to social media or to your website. Now, I was looking at an open house this week, and I actually went to one with my husband. And I noticed when I walked in the door, this poor realtor had, I don't know, 100 copies of a flyer. And I thought to myself, she could have created all of these flyers and exchanged them digitally. And what an opportunity, rather than to waste money on paper and ink, to exchange the flyer with a potential buyer, something that's not going to end up trashed in the backseat of a car, but actually could be airdropped or texted. And that's another great resource for lead generation. Capture those folks' names. So what we did, we looked at some research, we looked at a little bit of marketing, we did some reports, we looked at that. I want to remind folks that we are open 7 days a week. We have a member support team. You can call, you can live chat, you can email. And then on the top right, before we start doing some searching, this is where you have access to our learning center. Now I mentioned earlier your Canva templates, but if you click on view more ways to learn down at the very bottom, this is going to take you to our entire suite of national webinars. We have webinars almost every day, either noon or 2 o'clock your time. Webinars by date, we've got the CMA class coming up tomorrow. It's the only class that we teach that's actually 90 minutes. If you click on register and you do not have time to attend a live 90-minute class, you have your on-demand option. Remember, this is only for realtors, so you do have to enter in your name, click on demand, and then you can watch it immediately. So that is how we access our national schedule. Let's say, for instance, I got you interested in learning more about creating mailing labels. Go down to your topics, click on mailing labels. We've got a playbook on how to build a geographic farm list. You get 2,000 mailing labels per month in RPR. That means we can pull up to 2,000 addresses and make that our geographic farm list for both buyers and sellers. So really take a look at the prospecting class. I think you're going to find it really helpful. And it's great to be able to create mailing labels, but then what? What are we going to do once we've decided who we want to market to? Well, you've got all of those reports that I mentioned, and then you have all of those AI scriptwriter tools that you could create. Okay, so that's a quick overview of our homepage. Under my work, you've got access to recent properties, saved searches. If I go to my recent properties, you'll notice this guy here on Lindelon, that is a mobile app search. So everything I do on the mobile auto syncs to the desktop and vice versa. So you can see all of these properties this weekend. I was looking at the mobile app, and then I got back to work today and I'm looking at my desktop. Okay, let's do some searching. Do I have another zip code out there, Jack, that I can do a quick search? And Patricia wants to know where to find those webinars. So while Jack's finding me a good zip code to demo, I'm going to just remind everybody that the Learning Center is on the home page. Make sure you refresh. This is what our homepage looks like. Click on the Learning Center. This is where you access your Canva templates. And this is where you can access our entire class schedule. What I recommend you do is bookmark this. I'm going to even copy and paste it right into the chat so you guys have it. I would bookmark this because I think there are so many resources available that realtors don't even know about. And you'll notice we did not get one ad, nothing other than the Canva templates. That's a partnership. Everything else I've shown you today has been completely for us to use to grow our business. Okay, Jack, did we get a new zip code out there? Let me see in the
We
Q&A.
do. We've got a few. Why don't
All
we
right.
go with 03861?
All right, where are we going? 03861. We're going to New Hampshire. All
Yeah.
right, so how do we search in RPR? We've got 8 minutes left, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. First off, over to the left, very easy to toggle from residential to commercial. So if you have a buyer looking to buy commercial space, check out your commercial option. The big difference is going to be right there under property type. You'll see office space, land, multifamily. Multifamily and land will typically appear in both residential and commercial searches. So it's very easy to toggle. We change it back to residential. We go back to our property type, single family, condos, all of these different property types. You just choose the one you want or select them all. So we're going to go to 03861. Now I entered a zip code, but you could have entered in a city. Now I've got 7 properties. Over to the right of my location bar is my status type. You'll notice lots to unpack here. I can search active listings. I can search actively listed properties for lease, or I could get rid of that. Active under contract, pending, withdrawn, canceled, and expired. Something else we talk about in great detail in our prospecting class. Or public records search. So if you're looking to build a geographic farm list, this is how we get that done. But we're going to go in. There's only 7 actively listed properties in 03861. I didn't even set price parameters, but I could have. Bedrooms, baths, more filters over to the right. Check this out. If I select more filters and I scroll down, I could enter in square footage, distressed properties. I don't really want to do that. If I have a buyer and they really want something furnished or they want to be on a golf course, I can use any of these keyword searches or I could add my own. And then the miscellaneous fields, that's something we cover in prospecting because that ties into geographic farming. Now, Ann had a question, can we search for waterfront here? And let's see, is it here? There it is. Now, if I select that, my number is probably going to go down to 0. The only way the keyword search is going to work is 1, if there's a lot of waterfront properties, and 2, the word waterfront has to be in the body of the listing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and notice that in Lee, New Hampshire, I ended up with 3 actively listed properties. Whenever we are on our search results, you have 3 views over to the right. There's my list view. Oh, this is expensive real estate up here. Coming soon for $9.95. I've got my side-by-side view. I can see all 3 of these properties beautifully laid out for me. And then you may have noticed that I saw my map. So there's the boundary for 03861. Whenever we're looking at a map in RPR, you have 15 different geographies, and then over to the right, you have all of these different map tools. So that's something that we have an entire class dedicated to. And then just below our 3 view options are the mailing labels. So that's more aligned for off-market property searches. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pick on this guy. We're going to go to, I think it's Demerit Avenue. Let's take a peek and see what we found. So this beautiful listing came on the market April 22nd, 2026. The list price is $897. And check this out. Remember we talked an hour ago about that RVM? Well, it's sitting at $880, $890. So if my buyer is ready to make an offer on this property and they want to come in and offer $850, I'm going to show them that this is the list price. This is what the RVM, the realtor's valuation model shows. So maybe that $850 isn't going to work out. Now, from every subject property in RPR, whether it's actively listed or off market, this one's obviously active, you're going to have this blue bar. And from here, I can look at the map. I can see exactly where it is on the map. I can see the market trends. And now we're looking at an entirely different market. Look at that. It's a very balanced market. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of inventory up there. We can refine the value. We can use our CMA options. I click on CMA and I could build a beautiful CMA for an active listing or an off-market property. And then you have that neighborhood data and my updates. We're going to come back to our property information page, and I'm just going to do a quick scroll through. First off, I can look at all of the photos that the listing agent has uploaded. Beautiful, very pretty home. Ooh, look at that. Fully assumable mortgage at 2.75%. That is pretty good news. Now I have the listing description. I have the public record data side by side the listing data. And right out of the gate, I notice a discrepancy. The public facts show this is 4 baths. The listing has 5. So I have questions. Partial baths 1, the listing agent has it at 4. So speaking of the listing agent is Jack. I might want to give Jack a call and say, hey, Jack, what's going on here? How come the public record is different than the listing data? So from every subject property in RPR, you're going to have additional resources. There's your climate risk, your home improvement estimates. As I scroll down, everything I need to know about the subject property, interior, exterior features, public record data, legal description. Scrolling on down, school data, Oyster River High School, middle school. If I click on Oyster River, not only am I getting the letter grade, but I'm also getting math and reading proficiency, SAT, ACT scores, and then over to the right, all of the nearby listings. So we'll go back. So from that subject property, we love this house. It's very pretty. It's priced pretty well. It's not way overpriced. As I scroll down, I can look at the property on the map. I can keep going. I looked at school data. There's my listing agent. There is my ownership facts. Rita and Edward, they own this property. They've only owned it less than 5 years. And then I even have historical listing data. So I can look at the previous listing info when it was listed back in 2023. And then I have public record history. So there's my deed, my mortgage, and my tax data. And remember, guys, all of this is available from mobile. So if you have a buyer and they're excited about this house, pull it up on the mobile app. You can share all of this data. Look at that. This property was, oh, it looks like it was up for rent back in 2024. It was listed in 2026 back in April. Maybe it came off the market and then it went back on the market. You get a whole picture of what's going on with that property. So that is how we do a basic search in a specific location. And remember, you can also go off market using your status type. Just click on your public records. And then the final thing I'm going to leave you guys with is your home page. My markets is where you add your areas that you look at. Now, I added Portland, Maine earlier. You can add as many markets as you want, and what this is showing you is inventory status changes that have happened in the last 10 days. So 33 new properties have come on the market in Portland. No distressed, 33 closed, that's unusual, 19 pending. And then from here, I can go in and access all of the property information. Again, this one's listed for 575. It's got the RVM of 566, and it's got my blue bar. So I can see all of that great info specific to 94 Tucker Avenue. All right, you guys, you've been hanging with me. I am happy to stay on longer. We are at the top of the hour. I just want to make sure that we don't have any outstanding questions. And we do try to cover as much as we can in 1 hour. And I know it can be overwhelming. That's why we recorded it. So please refer back to the recording or join us for more classes. We are here for you almost every single day of the week. Jack, are we doing okay out there? Any other questions?
We are doing great. Just got one about how does RPR know distressed? Does that word need to be in the listing summary?
Yeah, so distressed is interesting. Let's go in and see if we can find any. 04401. Distressed is going to mean short sale, pre-foreclosure, or something that's already in foreclosure. So if I click on my more filters over to the right, in Bangor, I found 108 properties. If I go down here and I just want to look at the pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, or distressed properties, let's see what I come up with. None. So I could exclude or include all of them, but I'm not seeing any in that area. Usually when you see them, let's go back to the home page. Distressed is going to be in red. Let's go to Concord and see if we found it. Nothing. You guys are in such a hot market that there's not a whole lot of distressed inventory, but you can search for distressed inventory and it varies by lender. So some lenders, the minute or the day a property owner is late on their mortgage, they're flagged as distressed, pre-foreclosure. Some lenders have different rules. So you really have to kind of keep an eye out. Just remember, like, watch this. If I go to Tampa, Florida, guys, I'll show you what distress looks like because we're starting to see a real uptick. Click on the market. See all of these red properties? That's pre-foreclosure. See them all? As you can see, the market in Tampa, since our hurricanes have it's definitely slowed down. Look at all of the inventory. So if I click on this guy here, it's actively listed for 1.3 million, but it's a pre-foreclosure. It's flagged as red. Good question. Okay, anything else? I think you're on mute, friend.
So I believe that's it. We've covered a lot of amazing stuff, and people have said thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. There's so much more to unpack here. I could spend 9 hours with you, but that's why we have 12 classes. So just remember, if you're looking to grow your business, you've got great social media posts, you've got newsletters, you've got market trends, and all of those reports that I created earlier or that I talked about earlier. Here's an example of a one-page flyer. You can create reports and quickly share them directly to your website, your blog, whatever you want to do. So use some of this stuff. It's here designed to help you grow your business and save you some time and money. All right, Fawn's happy. I'm happy. Thank you guys so much. Everybody give Jack a huge shout out for this Monday afternoon. Awesome job backing me up, answering all of those great questions. I wish you all a wonderful week ahead, and hopefully I'll see you in future classes. Remember, they're free and just get to your Learn page. And if you have any questions at all, member support is in Nebraska. And believe it or not, they're live people. They're not bots. They actually answer the phone and walk you through whatever you're trying to accomplish. So take advantage of that. And thanks again, Jack. Have a great day, everybody. Bye bye.